Hey guys, how's it going? TJ here with Dead History, and today is part 5 of our presidential series. And we're going to be talking about, the guy behind me, the 5th president of the United States, James Monroe. And this is a little bittersweet for me, because James Monroe, he was actually the last of the founding fathers to be president. But we're going to get into all of that. Some just amazing, fascinating things about James Monroe. I mean, not to mention the Monroe Doctrine that he pretty much came up with, obviously on his own. It's named after him. Amazing things. But first, what I need you to do, hit subscribe down below. Give us a like, thumbs up. Make sure you leave your comments and questions. I'd be happy to answer anything for everybody. And make sure you hit that little bell and notification button, because you want to be notified every time we release a new video, which is every week, by the way. And now sit back and relax, because we're going to start part 5 of our presidential series, James Monroe. And this is Dead History. Hey guys, TJ here, back again, of course. Yep, behind me, that's James Monroe, the 5th president of the United States of America. And I'm going to get into all sorts of fascinating things about James Monroe. Like, did you know that he is buried in Virginia? Yes, he's from Virginia because that's where he was born. But he died and was originally buried in New York City, right in Manhattan. I'm going to show you that. Really interesting stuff. And of course, as I already touched on, the Monroe Doctrine and many other fascinating things about James Monroe, including he was actually part of, for you New Jersey people, the Battle of Trenton. Yeah, General George Washington, he sent James Monroe across the Delaware River before Washington even crossed, and James Monroe actually ended up getting shot and wounded in the Battle of Trenton. Some really fascinating stuff. We'll get into all that. Again, hit subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, sit back and relax, because here we go, part 5, presidential series, James Monroe. Hey guys, TJ here with Dead History, and we're going to jump right into part 5 of our presidential series, James Monroe. Taking a look, of course, at the 5th president of the United States, James Monroe. So what you're seeing on your screen here, these are just some signs and such. This is actually the birthplace of James Monroe. James Monroe was born in Westmoreland County, Virginia on April 28, 1758. It was basically within an eyeshot of what would later become the town of Colonial Beach, Virginia. 500 acres of land and a 20-foot by 58-foot four-room dwelling is not only where James Monroe was born, but it's where he spent the first 16 years of his life working the farm until he left when he was 16 years old to go enter the college, William and Mary College. And then he actually left college to enter the Army. His father's name was Spence Monroe, and his mother was Eliza Beth Jones. So pretty interesting. Really interesting fact, it was actually the College of William and Mary in 1976. They began the archaeological survey of the James Monroe birthplace, and they uncovered the ruins of the Monroe family home. So really interesting. Basically a rough-cut wooden farmhouse with a few outbuildings is what it was. And what you're seeing on your screen now, that's a replica of the home where James Monroe was born. I believe it was in 2016, the Virginia Department of Transportation, what they did, they approved a grant to allow this replica home to be built. So I believe the building actually started in 2017. So that's what you're seeing here. This was my visit to the Monroe birthplace, location and vicinity. And, like I said, that's the home, the replica of what the home looked like. So pretty interesting stuff. Really nice. It was a nice place. I mean, I saw it in the evening time when no one was around, and plus it was closed anyway due to COVID. So really cool. It has like a garden in the back and all this really neat stuff. It was actually really, really beautiful. So I really enjoyed it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show you guys the Monroe House in New York City. So the Monroe House is basically where James Monroe lived with his daughter and then that's also where he died. So I'm going to show you a video clip right now of me visiting that approximate location in New York City. It's on Prince Street in New York. So take a look here. This is where the Monroe house was in New York, and me showing you where that would be. So enjoy this clip. Hey guys, TJ with Dead History. I'm actually going to pull my mask down because there's nobody really near me. So right there, that building that you see behind me, that is actually 63 Prince Street. I'm actually going to cross here, you guys around. This is actually 63 Prince Street in New York City. This building right here, this big loft building. This is actually the location where the Monroe house was. So this is the actual location right about here where the house stood that James Monroe's daughter lived in, and this is where he died. The 5th President of the United States, James Monroe. Right around here, which, like I said, is 63 Prince Street, right here in New York City. So it's right on the corner of Prince and Lafayette. So Lafayette and Prince. This is it right here, this building that you're seeing. So pretty cool stuff. I just wanted to show you guys that. Really neat perspective that this building right here, that is what now stands where the Monroe house was that James Monroe died in, that his daughter lived in. So pretty cool stuff. Thanks guys. So some pretty cool stuff there, the Monroe house. So I'm just going to give you a little brief history while I show you some old photos and paintings and stuff and drawings of the Monroe house. So in 1820, Maria Hester Monroe was married in the Oval Reception Room of the White House. She was the youngest daughter of President James Monroe. She was just 17 years old, and hers would actually be the first White House wedding. So pretty interesting. Her groom, the groom, was actually Maria's cousin, 20-year-old Samuel L. Gouverneur. So pretty interesting stuff. So basically marrying, obviously the daughter of the president had its advantages, and James Monroe appointed, I don't know if it's governor or governor. Anyway, he appointed him the postmaster of New York. So James Monroe's daughter and her newlywed husband, they relocated to Manhattan, and in 1823, Governor purchased 2 undeveloped lots from a guy named Philip Brashear. They were located at the northwest corner of Prince and Orange Streets there in New York. In the area, it's kind of in the area in between Houston and Canal Streets, if you're familiar with New York. It's just a section just seeing the rise of handsome brick homes and that sort of thing. Orange Street would later actually become Marion Street, and then Elm Street, and then finally what it is today, which is Lafayette Street. So that's what that is. So basically he paid Brashear about $2,100 or so each for the lots. He erected 2 residences there, one of which the corner house became their home, the Governor home. So pretty interesting. So later on in life, James Monroe, he after an impressive military and political career, 2 terms as president, minister to France, all these different things, Secretary of State, you name it. He was actually burdened with financial difficulties following his departure from office of presidency. And basically what happened following the death of his wife, Elizabeth, she died on September 23rd of 1830. James Monroe was forced to sell his plantation in Virginia, and he was actually forced to move to New York to live with his daughter and stepson. So, pretty interesting stuff. So then, it was kind of interesting. Less than about a year later, on July 4th, 1831, 73-year-old James Monroe died at that home on Prince Street. There was a newspaper that apparently reported for several days his death had been momentarily expected, and that he expired without a struggle. So pretty interesting, obviously, because His death, obviously, on the 4th of July, Independence Day, was following the death of John Adams and Thomas Jefferson on July 4th, 5 years earlier. So pretty interesting stuff. So that is where the home was. Obviously, over the years, it kind of deteriorated and it was never maintained. There was actually, I guess, some attempts to kind of preserve it, but it just never happened. So that's pretty much it. So that's kind of the history on the Monroe House there in New York City at 63 Prince Street. It's right in Manhattan. And that is the general location of where the 5th President, James Monroe, died. So pretty interesting stuff. So I'm going to stop this here. We are going to do a part 2. There is going to be 2 parts to this. Reason being, it's just running a little long. So stay tuned for part 2. I'm going to show you where James Monroe was originally buried in New York City. Yep, that's right. He was originally buried in the city. And then, of course, where he was moved to and where he is laid to rest and still resides to this day in Richmond, Virginia. So stay tuned for part 2, and we'll show you the burial sites of James Monroe. Thanks, guys.